Easter Island. Easter Island is a Chilean island in the southeastern region of the Pacific Ocean. It was first inhabited by Polynesians in 1200 AD. It is one of the youngest inhabited territories on Earth. So, what happened to the Easter Island society? Multiple events occurred on the Easter Island to destroy its society. The collapse began in the 1860s. It started by rapid deforestation. The deforestation took away the Easter Island palm, which was used for making agricultural tools for the society and helping in the transportation of the Easter Island heads. The deforestation and the destruction of the palms caused the population to decrease. With deforestation, there were basically no native animals bigger than insects. The people who survived had to adapt to the new way of living. In 1862, Peruvian slave raiders came to Easter Island. The Peruvian slave raiders captured and killed 1,500 men and women. By 1863, most of the people who were captured had been released, but then most of them died due to tuberculosis, smallpox, and dysentery. The Peruvians wiped out about half of the population of the island. The island then had a spread of tuberculosis, which decreased the population to about 930 people. All of these conflicts resulted in the people to sadly turn to cannibalism.
How and why did they fail or succeed? Smallpox and plague ripped through Easter Island, halving the population in a short time. This crash, whose results were observed by Europeans, strengthened the myth that the Rapa Nui were already in decline from a much larger population that had existed 1,000 years before. The Moai people were toppled, decapitated, and tortured by angry Rapa Nui. In the 1600s, Easter Island was at the height of its civilization. This careless use of resources was the primary contributor to Easter Island's collapse. The Rapa Nui were so intent on their projects that they underestimated the extent of their resources. Conventional wisdom holds that environmental destruction and internecine warfare led to societal and economic collapse on this tiny island some 2,150 miles off the coast of Chile. For years, the island's demise has been presented as a cautionary tale for our own violent and environmentally destructive times. But in the past decade or so, the common understanding of Easter Island's collapse has been challenged by archaeologists whose fieldwork and research on the island point to a different story, in which disease and slavery, which were both introduced by Europeans, are more to blame than ecocide and self-destruction. How do we know? By the time of European arrival in 1722, the island's population was estimated to be at around 17,000 people. European diseases, Peruvian slave raiding expeditions in the 1860s, and emigration to other islands, such as Tahiti, further depleted the population, reducing it to a low of 111 native inhabitants in 1877. Although the population has now climbed back up to 5,761, according to a 2012 census, it has taken a long time for the natives to regrow their population, which in its prime was at around 17,000 people.
So, what are the lessons for us today? If we're not careful with how we utilize our resources, they will soon be all gone, and we will have nothing left. Easter Island can be seen as foreshadowing on what may happen to our planet. Like Easter Island, our current rising population means that resources are shrinking. We too have no immigration valve, because all human societies are linked by international transport, and we can no more escape into space than the Easter Islanders could flee into the ocean. If we continue to follow our present course, we will have exhausted the world's major fisheries, tropical rainforests, fossil fuels, and much of our soil in mere decades. This is a great example and lesson for our world to see, because it shows that deforestation, lack of food, and disease can negatively impact society. As we speak, deforestation is occurring, which is destroying the environment and contributing to climate change. Hopefully, the world does not have a collapse of any society anytime soon. Every day, newspapers report details of famished countries across the earth who don't have enough resources to successfully support all of their people. This is exactly what happened on Easter Island, and if we're not careful, it will soon happen everywhere. A fun fact about this topic is across the entire island, many moai are reversing the creation process and deteriorating rapidly from priceless carvings back into plain rock. The volcanic stone is subject to weathering, and intensive conservation efforts are needed to help preserve Papa Nui's stone legacy in its present awe-inspiring state. Thank you for listening. Have a swell day. I'm not done, just kidding. Although the situation is dire, there are still some small things that we can do to help out in our everyday lives, such as donating to nonprofit organizations that help do things such as plant trees, donate food, and a lot more. We can also recycle more, which would help a lot. Use public transportation and carpool when possible. Try to eat less red meat and try to purchase products with less packaging. If climate change becomes irreversible, we have no other options. We can always call Thanos.